The information that I'm about to provide in this video may or may not change the current open field meta. I'm gonna be covering 4 topics here. First, how much rage does Karuak Drums generate? Secondly, how much drums you need on how many marches in order for it to be viable? And thirdly, I always say in my videos and in my live streams that rage generation is everything on open field. So I'm gonna try to show you why is that the case. And lastly, I'm gonna be giving you guys my own thoughts and recommendations based on all the analysis we did. So sit tight, buckle up, because this video is gonna get crazy. Alright, so let's start talking about the rage generation aspect. In my previous videos, we already did a simulation on horn. So horn was proccing 100 times in 5 minutes 50 seconds, which means horn was proccing 1 time every 3.5 seconds. And that was giving us about 14 rage per second. I did the same simulation on the drums as well. Drums has 10% chance to proc, and also it has 3 seconds of cooldown. Because of that, drums was proccing 100 times in 22 minutes 48 seconds. A lot longer than horn proc. This means that drums was proccing 1 time every around 12 to 12.5 seconds. That is giving us around 12 rage per second. This number is quite close, but not close enough to the actual horn. Even though drums is proccing much slower than the horn, drums does give that current march 50 rage, and also another 2 other marches 50 rage, totaling 150 rage. At the end of the day, horn will be giving us just a tad bit more rage per second, but according to the simulation, drums is getting really close to the horn. I also did one simulation. This was just for fun. I used Liuche and see how much drums were proccing, and drums procced 100 times in 17 minutes 35 seconds. Drums was proccing 1 time every 10.5 seconds, almost entire 2 seconds faster than the previous one, and it was giving us 14.2 rage per second. So on Liuche, drums will have similar effect in terms of rage generation per second as horn. So in terms of rage generation, drums is not as close as horn, but it comes very, very close. Okay, let's go to the second part of the video, how many drums you need on how many marches. Okay, so let me explain this matrix here a bit. Okay, here we have the number of drums, and then here we have the number of marches. For example, you can have 1 drums on 1 marches, and that is going to generate 50 rage every 12 seconds, because we already did the simulation. We are only gaining 50 rage because we only have 1 march. We are not really benefiting from the Karuak War Drums if we have only 1 march, but if we have 2 march and then we have 1 Karuak Drums, we are now generating 100 rage total in 12 seconds. And if we have 3 march, 1 drum, that means we are generating 150 rage every 12 seconds. And beyond that, we are hitting cap of having 1 drums, because it is going to only provide 50 rage to 3 marches. So having 4, 5, 6, 7 march does not really benefit us more, right? Just like this, having 2 drums, it is impossible to have 2 drums on 1 march, so this space is empty. So having 2 drums on 2 marches, you are generating 200 rage, because when the drums procs, that march itself gain 50 rage, and then it is also giving the other march 50 rage, right? Total, that 1 proc is generating 100 rage, and we have 2 drums, which means it is generating 200 rage. For 3 march, total rage is 300, and so on, and we are also hitting the cap here because we only have 2 drums. I did the same thing, and on 7 drums, 7 march, we are generating 1050 rage per 12 seconds. Okay, so again, this is just calculating the total amount of rage gained. Of course, if we take a look into the Karuak Drums, whenever troop launches any type of basic attack, 10% chance to grant 50 rage to wearer and up to 2 nearby allies, right? So it is limited to 3 marches. So we gotta keep that in mind as we proceed. So I played around with this, table or matrix, and then I decided to convert the drums performance into something similar with horn, because horn is generating 50 rage every 3.5 seconds, right? I wanna see like Karuak drums 50 rage on how many seconds. This is what I did. If you take a look here, one drums is gonna be generating 50 rage for one march every 12 seconds. For two marches, one drum is also going to be 12 seconds. Take a look into example of, let's say, 3 drums on 3 marches, right? Having 3 drums on 3 marches, now you are generating 50 rage every 4 seconds, okay? If you have 3 drums on 4 marches, you are generating 50 rage every 5.3 seconds. I did the same in the, number of drums and marches here. On 7 march, 7 drums, we are kind of seeing 50 rage every 4 seconds. We can kind of see that, the Karuak drums comes very close to performance of horn, which is kind of huge deal actually, not counting the fact that again, it provides, the rage for like 3 marches. There's the like RNG factor there, but if we just purely take a look into the rage generation factor, it is very, very coming close to horn. So what we can do with this number is that we can determine how many drums we need for how many marches, okay? In order for drums to be effective, we would like to shave off 1 second from our initial cast and also shave off 1 second from our second cast reliably, okay? Because drums is generating 50 rage, we need drums to proc around 2 times in our first skill cycles, or benefit from drums 2 times. And then on our second skill cycle, we also need to benefit like around 2 times, shave off another second, right? If we have like drums proccing like only once in our skill cycle, it is not being enough to shave off 1 second. What I'm trying to say is that we need to have a drum set up so that each march can benefit from drums 2 times per skill cycle. For example, if you have crit horn, the second skill cycle of support talent tree, having crit horn is gonna be enough to shave off that 1 second, and then putting 50 rage somewhere is also gonna shave off 1 entire second as well, meaning that support talent tree can go and cast their skill at the fastest rate, which is a skill cycle every 5 seconds. Remember guys, the rage cap is 220, the skill casting rage is 1000. Theoretically, fastest possible that you can go is like actually 5 seconds, and it is impossible for you to go below that. You cannot be casting your skill every 4 seconds, except one. There's only one commander that can achieve this, which is Karuak. Other than that, every other commander's the fastest every 5 seconds. Okay, there is a lot of room for improvement in the rage simulation, and also again we need to be having 2 drums proc in order for the marches to benefit to shave off that 1 second. So considering that, drums starts working from around here. Let me put this into green. So this green section can work. For example, for 3 drums on 3 marches, you are guaranteed almost on average having 1 drum proc every 4 seconds, right? This means if we go back and take a look here, first skill cycle is like 8 or 9 seconds, right? This means we are having, on average 2 drums proc. Let me put here. If you go back and see 3 drums and 4 marches, we are going to be having 1 drum proc every 5.3 seconds. It is still very high chance that the drums will proc 2 times in the within the skill cycle, but it is not as good as having drums on all of our marches, right? But 3 drums on 4 marches can still work. 6 drums or 5 drums on 7 marches, they can still work, they can still give you, but if you have drums on like all of your marches, it is just gonna be much more guaranteed shave off that 1 second. All right, let's now go to the third point, and that is why rage generation is like everything on open field. Okay, so I did some simulation here to show you the impact of why the rage is so important. And I'm taking an example of Zugulian and Herman. On open field, AoE damage is everything, yes. March speed is everything, yes. And then thirdly, rage generation is everything. This is just a generic simulation which everybody is running this at right now at the moment. Everyone has a horn and probably everyone has ring. Most of you guys, right? Which means on Zugulian Herman case, you are gonna be casting your first skill every 8 seconds. And then subsequent skill can go around again 8 seconds, and if the feral nature procs, it's gonna go to 7 seconds. And also, if you have like a commander, someone like Williams, it could go down to 6 seconds, right? But usually on generic skill talent tree, first skill is every 8 seconds and second skill is every around 7 seconds. Here I'm calculating the raw damage factor or DPS. Each turn we are doing 200 damage factor. This is our basic attack, right? And then when we are casting our skill, Zugulian and Herman are dealing 18,220 damage factor with the skill cast. We have also calculated this skill damage when we were comparing the damage with the Arthur. Here I have calculated all the skill damage bonuses and it's hitting 5 marches. And also I'm taking into consideration the Zugulian's 4th skill. And on the 2nd skill cycle, you are doing almost 16,000 damage factor as a skill damage. You are doing close to 20,000 damage factor from your 1st cycle, and then around 17,000 damage on your 2nd cycle, right? If you calculate the DPS here, 2,450 DPS, and 2nd skill cycle we are doing around 2,170 DPS per second. Okay, so what if we add drums here? Drums, we are gonna be assuming that drums is gonna be proccing, 2 times, because now we know how many drums we need to put on how many marches, right? So we are putting drums and we are gaining, let's say we are gaining 100 rage from drums. This is just a simulation. That means that now we are casting our very first skill every 7 seconds, and the 2nd skill goes down to from 8 seconds to 7 seconds as well. This is just generic simulation to see what happens. And here I'm also calculating the damage factor, because now we have one less turn here. We are losing 200 damage factor as a basic attack damage, but we are gonna be doing the same amount of skill damage here. Total, the amount of damage is just a tad bit less, 200 damage factor less, but our DPS is close to 2,800. We now have around 13% DPS increase from the previous simulation. This is huge number, and the reason why we are getting this much big number is that the more AoE damage we are doing, the more we are being impactful. And if we manage to shave off 1 second from our skill cycle, then our DPS is increasing by 13%. This is huge number. This is huge number. In our previous video with the Lucha mathematics, we also did analysis on how much damage increase on average was Ringas providing. So Ring was like around 7% and Greatest Glory is 5%, right? So we noted the fact that Ring will be losing its value on open field, maybe 3.5% or 4 or 4.5%, right? Because we go back and forth, there's a high chance that we might lose the 2-second proc window. If we just, compare, the Greatest Glory and Ring, these are just 5 and 7%, but the sheer just 1 second shaving off from our skill cycle, this 13% is tremendous amount of number. We're not done yet, man. We're not done. So here I am just, calculating what if Horn is proccing 3 times, drums 3 times. This is not gonna happen, highly unlikely, but again, at the end of the day, it is RNG, so this could still be a possibility. Now I'm just calculating what happens if I'm casting our skill every 6 seconds. Now our DPS is 3,200. If we compare this number to our previous number, DPS now increased by 15.5%. Again, this is huge number, and if we are shaving off 1 second, it is boosting and increasing our DPS even more. And this is kind of showing us the impact of, the importance of rage generation on open field. The faster you cast your skill, the more DPS output that you are gonna be doing. Here, just for fun, just simulating what if I'm casting our skill at the maximum speed, which is every 5 seconds. This is almost not gonna happen, but rare occasions, drums and horns just go bananas and they just start proccing every second, which it is possibility. When I was doing the simulation testing, especially with the horn literally procced 5 times in a row. There is some possibilities that could happen. At the end of the day, again, it's RNG. Our DPS is now 3800 in our first turn and 3300 in our second turn. This is now even more DPS increase, 18.8%, almost 19% DPS increase from our previous simulation. Okay, I note you that previous simulation. If I compare this number with our very first just normal everyday DPS, we almost have like 50% DPS increase from this one. This is why I keep telling that rage generation is everything on open field. What's gonna happen is that you are gonna be generating rage as fast as possible. It doesn't matter you overrage, you just do not care, because the risk to award benefit is just too much. Yes, there are some cases that you might overrage, but if you manage to shave off 1 second, your DPS output just skyrockets. Overraging on open field is kind of like overrated. In my opinion, in my perspective, you should not worry about overraging at all. In fact, you should just, stack up as much as rage generation as possible on open field, just judging by the fact that doing all that AoE, lot of damage in fast succession is just gonna boosting your damage even more. Here I have put the damage increase, DPS increase in a graph. As you guys can see, this is like a exponential increase. Hope that is the correct English word, but it goes up even more and more. The more faster we cast our skill, the curve goes up, right? But all the other equipments or bonuses, they will have diminishing return. For example, the more we increase the skill damage bonus, the impact is gonna go like this. It's not gonna go up, but it's gonna go something like this. In the Rise of Kingdoms, there's only one thing that has a multiplicative effect, and that is boosts. And now in this case, as I'm showing you, rage generation or casting your skill 1 second earlier also has that similar effect. Everything else on Rise of Kingdoms have a diminishing return effect, like additive effects, right? So this is why, casting your skill as fast as possible and rage generation is actually everything on open field. You are just gonna be benefiting tremendously more, right? Now, in terms of, overraging or, let's say if we are running multiple drums, they could, proc all at the same time and then waste rage, right? You might argue that drums proccing at the same time is very, very low. The chances are very, very low. Here I asked ChatGPT, also Gemini AI, to do some probability for me. I just got lazy with this calculation. If we take a look here, 2 drums proccing at the same time is only 7.3%. Exactly 3 drums proccing at the same time is now 0.81%, and so on, so on. All the drums proccing at the same time is very, very low chance. I would not really worry about, drums proccing at the same time with each other. There should not be any problem. And like I also mentioned or showcased in the above, that even if drums proc at the same time with horn, there's no overage issues, right? The only issue is that how the marches benefit. If you're running more than 3 marches, starting from 4 march, it could get weird. Like I said, one of your marches just simply could be left out, but I don't think that it's gonna be a problem, right? Like, for example, if you're running 7 march, and then let's say 6 of your marches are benefiting from the drums, then 6 of your march will be casting your skill really fast, and 7th march is not gonna do so much because it didn't benefit from the drums, right? Just speculation. But even so, most of your marches are casting your skill faster. So I'm not really worrying about that aspect. One of your marches being left out is not really that big of a deal. Okay, so from all these, simulations and calculations and everything, it is, still a little bit hard for me to, suggest or like exactly say that, yo, horn plus drum combination is actually gonna be the new meta for open field. I just cannot say that at this point because, again, there's just too many RNGs. All the skill casting cycle simulation and, the rage calculation and everything. We can roughly see that drums, it is gonna be better combination as compared to the current meta. If you are running horn plus drums on all of your marches, then it's just gonna be better than horn plus ring combination. Again, it's just kind of hard for me to tell by just math only. What math, doing all the simulations and calculations and doing some math, this allows us is to kind of see the grasp of what would be potential. And in my opinion, I see a tremendous amount of potential that horn plus drums is actually going to be the way to go. This drums topic is kind of like a rumor, right? I'm sure you have heard like someone who's running like all horn plus drums on almost all of his marches and doing just, pulling off extreme amount of numbers, really good trades and stuff like that, right? Currently, there's not that many players like who are really, using this. The ones that are, secretly using this, I feel like they are just generating tremendous amount of number. Personally, I actually convinced myself this is I think I truly believe that rage is everything on open field. I also truly believe that horn plus drums is way to go. You don't have to do that. We need to do bunch of more simulations and bunch more open field actual numbers to actually prove that a horn plus drum is gonna be better than the current, meta pairing, which is horn plus ring. But with all the studies that I'm doing, research that I'm doing, simulations and calculations that I'm doing, all it's directing me to this point where rage is everything on open field, which is why in my case I'm gonna be going for horn plus drums combination. All right, that is the end of the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Have a great day and peace. Boost does have a multiplicative effect. Boost does have a multiplicative. Boost does have a multiplicative. Boost does have a multiplicative. Boost multiplicative.